Good afternoon, Monarchs. Welcome back. It's good to be able to chat with you all. I have a few updates for you, and then after I provide some updates, I'll answer some questions. So please do type in any questions that you might have in the group chat. But first, here are some updates. There's obviously a lot of questions about when we're going to return to campus. We are developing a phased plan for returning to campus. The first phase will be to finish up the 6 classes from the spring that haven't yet completed. My hope is that we will be able to have those classes return soon. We don't have a specific date yet. We're still working on a couple of the details, but my hope is that it's very soon. After we have the spring classes finish up, we will then look at some additional classes that cannot be offered online or remotely, and developing plans for having those classes return to campus. It'll be some time that we have all or most classes return to campus. It's not likely to be in the fall. The fall currently is planned to be 100% online or remotely, and when we're able to add some classes that can't be offered online or remotely, be able to add those to the schedule so that they can be offered on campus, we will. But currently all fall classes are online or remote, and we will start developing plans for a phased approach for the return to campus. Also, in regards to classes, summer is going well. The demand for classes has increased substantially. We've had an 11% increase in students and a 17% increase in enrollments, so a pretty good size increase. We've also seen a large demand in large wait times in a lot of our core services like admissions and records, counseling, and we're doing our best and working hard to make some changes to reduce that wait time. So I apologize for the wait for our core services, and please be patient, and we'll do our best to have that decreased. I have a few other updates as well. We're currently working on plans for securing some additional Chromebooks for the fall semester. We recognize that many students may not have access to a computer or a Chromebook, so we will be doing our best to purchase additional Chromebooks for students for the fall semester. Currently, there's already an order in place for students that are promised students to get a Chromebook out to them, and we're going to be working hard to provide getting additional Chromebooks for students who don't have them. Similarly, we're also working on options for providing internet access, whether it's hotspots or another function. In the meantime, for students that are taking summer classes, go to our website, and there's a link on our homepage for LAVC COVID-19 information, and then you'll see on the left a button for students. And under that, there's going to be a long list of information, including some internet options for folks who might qualify based on income. On that same link, there's also some additional information on other services. There's information on housing for people that might be experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity. There's also information on food banks that many folks might be in need. We also have information on other services that are being offered at Valley College during the summer. Of course, this includes library, tutoring, and other services that continue to be offered virtually. My last update relates to the CARES Act. We're working to provide CARES Act funding, an additional wave of CARES Act funding for students that have the high levels of need as demonstrated on the FAFSA. These are the students with the highest levels of the lowest levels of expected family contribution or highest levels of need. So we're hoping to get additional support out to a little bit over 3,000 students on July 8th or 9th. For folks who have a high level of need as demonstrated by the FAFSA, keep an eye out on your financial aid accounts for more information on that. I'm going to go to the questions now. I see from Susan a question about financial aid, and we'll post additional information about that in the group chat, other than my last comment about the distribution on July 8th and 9th. Let me see if I have another question. Question from Mr. Cotto regarding classes returning to campus, and will masks be mandatory for students and teachers? The answer is yes. For the first phase of the return to campus plan, that includes completing the spring 2020 classes, personal protective equipment, PPE, is required, including face coverings. Of course, face coverings are required generally when folks are out in public, anywhere out in public, but they will be required on Valley College campus. We're also developing signage to let folks know what the requirements are, a check-in procedure, and all that hopefully will be available. The procedures will be available in the next week or two. There's a question about rental items such as calculators, and that's a good question. I haven't seen any information about that for the summer, so we'll look for information about that and post it in the chat. Question from Narek, how can we choose a counselor? You can access counseling services from our homepage. There's a link to information about student services, and currently you can live chat or email counselors through that link. Let me look for another question. From Michelle, will any fitness center classes be offered on campus, like swimming, weight training, etc.? Currently, we don't have plans for classes, fitness classes on campus. It's not likely that they will be allowed back on campus for the fall semester, but we will continue to monitor LA County Department of Public Health and California Department of Health guidelines for what we can offer. Currently, we're not allowed to offer any group classes like that, unlike gyms. The rules governing their practices are different than for higher education. Let me look for additional questions. From Rosin, are there steps being taken to ensure the campus is safe, disinfecting procedures, and cleaning of sorts? Yes, the plans that we're developing for returning classes to campus are designed to ensure that everyone, both students and our faculty, are safe. It includes making sure that we don't have large groups getting together in the same place, large groups congregating. We're working to make sure that there's a maximum physical distance and time, and then sanitization between groups of folks coming to campus, as well as personal protective equipment, such as face masks that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. So a question about hand washing stations, as well as hand sanitizers. We have purchased additional hand sanitizer stations for campus, so we do have those available. Let me see if I can see. There's another question about when we'll be returning to campus. Again, we don't have a specific date on when we'll be able to have all of the classes return to campus. It'll be likely a good amount of time before we have a large proportion of our classes return to campus. But we are working on a phased approach. The first phase being completing the spring semester class, the spring 2020 classes that couldn't complete. There are 6 classes that weren't able to complete yet. So we're going to try to get those wrapped up. And then we'll be moving on to additional phases for classes that cannot be completed online, and developing plans for bringing those back. By the State Department of Health orders, if a class can be offered online, it must continue to be offered online. So for all institutions of higher education, all colleges and universities, they must continue to offer classes online if they can be done online. In fact, I think currently the only classes that are able to be offered on campus are classes not only that have to be offered in person, but also are training for essential functions. Another class on maintaining physical distancing, and the physical distance between folks is another factor that we're including in our plans for returning to campus, and whether or not we need to break up classes or move the type of space that they're in to allow for greater distance. There's a question about the cafeteria, the impact on the cafeteria. It's not likely that we'll be able to open the cafeteria soon. We don't have any specific guidance on that yet. Of course, currently we have only essential personnel on campus, so there's not a demand for the cafeteria, but it's not likely that we'll be opening the cafeteria soon. There's a question about dual enrollment, whether or not future scheduling of classes will affect dual enrollment for high school students. We do continue to move forward with plans for dual enrollment classes for high school students. We have actually an increased number of dual enrollment classes that are going to be offered in the fall, and those plans continue to move forward with the assumption that the classes will be offered online. There's a question from Narek on applying for EOPS, and I'll ask staff to post information about applying to EOPS online in the group chat. There's a question about is it possible to take all classes online or just some units? And it is possible to take currently all of our classes online. In fact, the only thing that we're offering are classes that are being delivered 100% online or remotely. For the spring semester, nearly everything was able to convert to online. We had almost 1,400 class sections, and well over 90% of the classes were offered online. We're able to be converted to online. There's a question from Michelle about what type of classes are going to possibly be the ones offered online, and nearly everything will be online. There's only a few classes that can't be offered online. They include a few labs, nursing labs, respiratory therapist labs, and machinists. And for those courses, either because of external requirements or just the nature of the curriculum, they cannot be converted to online. But even most labs, most science labs have been converted to online. So nearly every course that you might need to transfer is available online. There's a question from Caesar. Will online summer classes be available for first-time college students? Yes. You can sign up for online summer classes. Everyone is welcome and able to sign up for online classes. Though, as I mentioned, there's been a really large increase in demand for classes. We've added some classes compared to last year. So when your registration appointment comes up, and for summer, all registration appointments have opened up. But even for the fall registration, as your appointment opens up, please do register early to ensure that you get all the classes that you might need. And having students register early helps us to gauge which additional classes might need to be added and helps ensure that classes aren't canceled. Michelle clarified that she meant on campus, what classes will be offered on campus. The first phase are the classes, the 6 class sections from spring 2020 that couldn't be moved to online and still have not yet completed. So those will have the first priority. In the future, classes that will be offered on campus will be ones that cannot be converted to online or remote, cannot be offered online or remote. And the first phase for those will be the classes that are training for essential functions. And that'll include disciplines like nursing, respiratory therapists, and our technology or machinist classes. Let me see if there's any additional questions. There's a question about having transcripts sent from Glendale Community College to Valley Counseling electronically, and will they be considered official? Yes, you can have your transcripts sent to us electronically from Glendale Community College, or you can have your transcripts sent to us from any college electronically. Please contact admissions and records or counseling, and they can provide you the details for how to make that transfer, how to send them to us. And I'm looking to see if there's any additional questions. I'm not seeing any additional questions. If you do have any additional questions, please feel free to email start@lavc.edu or contact any